Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for having a second round. Attorney General said I'm very deeply troubled by the President's attacks on the press, seemingly repeated and relentless. The suggestion that reporters can and should be prosecuted for stories that are adverse to him, not a violation of any national security interest, but simply unfavorable. And then, most recently, his suggestion that broadcast licenses should be challenged simply because he disagrees with the network's coverage of him, reminiscent of Richard Nixon's encouragement of a challenge to the Washington Post broadcast license for coverage that he claimed was inaccurate. I've asked every member of the FCC to reject and repudiate these threats, which have a chilling effect on coverage. I'd like to ask you now to do the same. Wouldn't it be illegal to deny a broadcast license or revoke a broadcast license simply because of the President's dislike of its content?
If you let me respond to Senator Franken just one moment, I failed to mention that there's a Violence Against Women law and the Byrd Ron White Act that both explicitly mention sexual identity and sexual orientation. We enforce those as you would want them to be enforced. But the other laws don't. Senator Blumenthal,
I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, that
he gets a minute.
Senator Frankenstein, but he went way above his time. So,
Okay, well, you get another 30 seconds, but what I'd like to have, I hope no Republicans come back, and we got 15 more minutes for Democrats. I've still got my second round I'd like to do. We got votes at 3 o'clock, so I want to get out of here by 3 o'clock. Go ahead, Senator Blumenthal.
thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Or go ahead, Senator Sessions.
It's a good counsel I'm talking to today. The President is open, direct, and he expresses himself when he wants to express himself. It's a free country. There are limits on...
It's a free country, Mr. Attorney General, and I apologize for interrupting you, but this issue is so profoundly serious. For the FCC to deny license or revoke a license based on the content of TV coverage would be absolutely illegal. Don't you agree?
Well, I guess I would say the FCC would need to decide how to handle those matters with propriety and integrity and consistent with law, and the President can make his own expressions.
Mr. Attorney General, and I'm going to follow up on this line of questioning in another forum. Do you have under consideration any analysis of a potential pardon for any of the following individuals: Jared Kushner, Donald Trump Jr., or Paul Manafort?
I'm confident. I don't think it's appropriate for me to comment on
Why not?
pardon processes at this time. I think it's akin to an investigation that probably should not be discussed in this forum. I'll review it. If I'm wrong, I would answer your question.
Would you agree with me that the President, even though he has broad pardon power, does not have the power to pardon himself?
I have not researched that.
On the emoluments clause, as you know, I have been joined by 199 of my colleagues in a lawsuit against the President, Blumenthal versus Trump, because he is taking foreign payments and benefits without coming to Congress for consent. The Department of Justice is defending him in court. These personal benefits and payments to the Trump organization and to him are a violation of the emoluments clause. The Department of Justice is challenging that lawsuit on the basis of our standing, even though the law clearly requires that he come to us for consent. Wouldn't you agree that we have a legitimate case here of aggrievement and injury when the President is, in effect, stopping us from doing our job?
Senator Blumenthal, we believe, the lawyers in the department, that this is a proper defense of the President, that having a business abroad, if interpreted broadly, would mean
these are not about
business. It would have to sell everything they've got abroad. If somebody buys something from them, they receive something from a foreign party. You're right. You have a right to challenge it. take it to court, but we think that this law has never been enforced in that way.
Well, I'm glad that you agree we have a right to go to court and that we have standing to do so. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Cornyn for 7 minutes.
I didn't intend to concede standing.
Did I cut you off, Senator?
No, he was alert to something I said.
Go ahead, Senator Blumenthal.
I was disoriented thinking I had to face Senator Blumenthal a third time. Forgive me.
Thank you for answering all our questions today, Mr. Attorney General. I want to ask you, first of all, just to say, I think that many of my colleagues and I feel that you have stretched this concept of executive privilege maybe to the breaking point, and we need to talk about what its valid purpose and effect is. I'm not going to pursue it in light of the time that is passing here, but I want to ask you about a tweet from the President of the United States on July 25th, quote, Attorney General Jeff Sessions has taken a very, all in caps, very weak position on Hillary Clinton crimes, parentheses, where are emails and DNC server, end parentheses, and intel leakers, exclamation mark, end of quote. Did that tweet have any effect on your thinking about these issues?
Well, the core of any Clinton matter is clearly within the recusal that I promised this committee that I would do. So much of that is just simply not something I can personally be engaged in. And I expect that the Department of Justice to do the right thing, to investigate matters that need to be investigated. When cases are closed and there's new evidence, perhaps it would justify reopening a case or not. I'm just speaking in general terms. So I can understand the President's concern, but the people who will be handling these cases, and if I'm handling them, we'll do it according to the law as we're given to understand it.
Without respect to the President's tweets. On September 25th, the media reported that at least 6 of President Trump's closest advisors used private email to discuss White House business, including 4 current members of the administration, Jared Kushner, Ivanka Trump, Gary Cohn, and Stephen Miller, and 2 former members, Steve Bannon and Reince Priebus. If Jared Kushner or any of the other individuals whom I named sent or received classified information using private email accounts, would you prosecute them?
It would have to be evaluated at the time, and inadvertence or things of that nature could be make a prosecution improper. And I would just note that it's a little bit different in the executive branch. In the Senate, we used our campaign funds, so we never got in trouble using official phone for what might turn out to be a political discussion of some kind. And in the executive branch, I use almost exclusively now. I get almost no emails on my personal phone. Everything comes on your official phone, but you could receive emails, maybe even send them inadvertently on your personal phone, and the procedure is set up so that you should forward those to the official records, your official phone and email system, so they will be part of the Federal Records Act. So it's provided that some problems might arise, and there's a mechanism to
Are you investigating any of those individuals for their use of private emails?
I'm not able to confirm or deny an investigation.
Do you know whether the Department of Justice has reason to believe that those email accounts included classified information?
I'm unable to comment on that.
Have you had any conversations with them or with the White House to assure that those emails are preserved?
I have not been engaged in that.
You have taken no such
I
steps.
assume that appropriate steps would have been taken by appropriate attorneys within the department, but I've not been involved. Or not. It may not be required. I can't even confirm that it's being discussed.
Thank you.
Or denied.
Again, in light of the constraints of time, I have other questions which I'll put on the record. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like, if I could just clarify a second here. I had heard of this Trump Tower meeting from news reports and no other way. Didn't know it at the time it was occurring. And my view is that there was no communication by others. It's simply my opinion. I have no knowledge of it and don't believe it happened.